Every civilization has a destiny, and this incisive and unnerving assertion has already been written for ours. Oswald Spengler's most well-known work, The Decline of the West, cemented his reputation throughout Europe and beyond and serves as the foundation for comprehending his radical and surprisingly still relevant vision of the modern world. At a time when people still believed in the dream of progress, Spengler had the audacity to say that the dream was already over and that the West was slowly burning out like a candle reaching the end of its wick. To some, he was a deep and brilliant thinker; to others, he was a prophet of doom. World, which was published between 1918 and 1922, is much more than a work of historical philosophy, it's a map of the future drawn with eyes fixed on the past. According to Spengler, civilizations are like living things that are born, grow, age, and eventually die. In his view, Western civilization was already entering its final phase, a brutal diagnosis that still makes one wonder if it's too late to change course, if the West is actually in decline, if it makes sense to continue defending meaningless ideals, or if there is still a way forward. Something deeper and more authentic. Born on May 29, 1880, in Blankenburg, Germany, Oswald Spengler grew up in a middle-class family and became passionate about history, music, and mathematics. He attended universities in Berlin and Halle Munich, concentrating on philosophy, history, and the natural sciences. Despite the fame that came with his work, Spengler remained a private figure, avoiding the spotlight and the academic mainstream. He died of a heart attack in Munich on May 8, 1936, at the age of 55. After teaching for a few years, he withdrew from public life and settled in Munich, focusing solely on writing and developing his philosophical ideas. Spengler was not a historian in the conventional sense; instead of attempting to recreate events, he sought to understand their underlying significance. Every civilization has a specific life cycle and is a macroorganism. Growth at birth, death and decline. This process can't be stopped or reversed. It's like the life of a tree or a human being. It might be slowed down but never turned around. In Spengler's view, the West, shaped by what he called fan civilization, had already entered its old age. The West, he argued, is the civilization of Fa because it embodies the spirit of a man who longs to transcend all limits, to know and possess everything, just like Goethe. Fa, who sells his soul in exchange for unlimited knowledge and power. It's a civilization built on technology, expansion and science that pushes endlessly forward, but that drive comes at a cost. Eventually the sense of boundaries disappears and what once was a powerful forward thrust turns into chaos. That's when civilization enters its final phase, a time of material abundance and spiritual emptiness. According to Spengler, a civilization lasts about 1,000 years. In the first 5 centuries, culture thrives, art, religion, symbols and values flourish. Then comes the stage of civilization. Urban sprawl, global commerce and technology have surpassed all other factors, and Spengler saw the large cities as the sickly center of the West. He stated that souls are deaf and blind in the metropolis. Berlin, Paris and London no longer represent the vitality of a people, but rather their weariness. It is amid this bleak backdrop that Spengler publishes his work at a pivotal historical moment, the end of World War I, Germany's defeat, and the fall of the Kaiser's empire. Europe is shattered and bruised. The Decline of the West is published in 2 volumes, the first in 1919 and the second in 1922. It is a monumental work that immediately captures the interest of Italian philosophers, writers, and political figures. Today, it is frequently printed as a single volume that combines both books, offering a comprehensive and cohesive vision of Spengler's thought. Despite its complexity, the book quickly becomes a bestseller and is read, debated, admired, and criticized. In his second major work, published in 1919, Spengler develops a unique idea of socialism in contrast to Marxism, which he views as a byproduct of English thought. Mussolini is thrilled by it, while Goebbels invites Spengler to support the Nazi project, but Spengler declines because he despises Hitler, whom he views as crude and uneducated. He chooses to remain independent, deeply conservative, but not affiliated with any political party. His interpretation is clearly German, notably Prussian, and is founded on order rather than equality. In his comparison of European peoples, Frederick the Great states that the king is just the first servant of the state, implying duty and the subordination of the individual to the total. Spengler distinguishes clearly between anarchic and socialist societies. He believes that confusion, creative rebellion, and a certain innate anarchy are what attract Italians and French people. Because of their island location and deeply ingrained mercantile spirit, the English are a symbol of excessive individualism. However, Spengler believes that true socialism isn't born from revolution because Prussians are different, they embody discipline, order, and a sense of collective purpose. This is because Prussian socialism, without Marxism, doesn't reject private property but instead places it within a larger framework, where every economic function should serve the greater good of the state. Even the old phrase, working for the King of Prussia, captures this idea of acting without personal gain in service of something greater, but this vision has unsettling implications. The bourgeois, with its obsession with the market and speculation, is seen as the main agent of decline. According to Spengler, democracy is leveling mediocre as a mask for economic power where public opinion overrides duty and everything is reduced to votes and profit. Politics must regain its independence because, as he puts it, economics can no longer dictate the fate of nations. Instead, a new elite capable of foresight and guiding decline with dignity is needed. The goal is not to stop the end, but rather to face it with full awareness. This is a deeply tragic but heroic vision that does not call for rebellion against fate, but rather for embracing it completely. It's a cold, clear realism stripped of illusion, and as a result, it still hits hard today in his later writings like The Hour of Decision. With terrifying clarity, Spengler sees China, Russia, and the United States as the emerging global powers that will supplant Europe. The West's hegemony is over, but that doesn't mean everything is lost in his worldview. For example, Russia is not a part of the West, rather, it is a world of its own, a civilization that is still developing. According to Spengler, Russia is neither European nor Asian, rather, it is something undefined but full of potential. The future, he writes, will belong to Russia if it can break free from its Western pseudomorphism. It also drew harsh criticism from Ernst J. For example, Gorlück accused Spengler of dragging German thought into irrationalism and philosophical decay, but even his harshest detractors had to acknowledge that Spengler had the guts to confront the West and declare, "Your time is coming to an end today in an era marked by economic crisis, cultural wars, and growing distrust in institutions." More than ever, Spengler's criticism of democracy has become a spectacle, with technology serving as a means to an end in itself, while spiritual values continue to decline. "It is a privilege to be here," he once wrote near the end of his life. This is a startling statement from the man who is frequently remembered as the prophet of decline, but maybe it's precisely that disillusioned clarity that enables one to live with sharper awareness and fewer illusions. Every era has a purpose, and perhaps ours is not to construct but to comprehend, bear witness, and lay the foundation for something new. The pursuit of truth never ends, even when everything appears to be falling apart.